That might be
Some
It's a
great
sandbox.
questions.
It's a
Wide
soapbox.
shot.
It's FanBox.
Hello and welcome to Andor After, the after show for the Andor Season 2. We're going to make this a regular thing weekly to talk about each episode. You can find them on itsfanbox.com. And yep, I am David Xanatos 1138. And joining me is, there we go. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Chase.
Hey there, I'm Chase at Forward Into the Black on most things on the internet. But yeah, thanks for having me here to talk about some Andor.
What did you think of the first three episodes?
I loved it. I had really high expectations because I loved season 1 so much. And I'm one of those people that I don't try and hype myself up. And I definitely wasn't hyping myself up for this, but I was like, you know what? The lasting impact of season 1 was like, it's the same crew, it's the same cast. They're just going to, they're going to continue on what they were doing, and they exceeded that fully for me, and how they handled a lot of things. As someone who loves spaceships, the opening sequence was incredible. But even after that, knowing that the show, that's not the focus of the show, it's just a small little treat that felt gift wrapped for me. Everything from episode 1 up until episode 3 was just incredible.
So when I saw the TIE Avenger, I thought of you immediately. Like, oh man, Chase
Yeah.
is the ship person is gonna love that.
Yeah.
And I, as a Legends fan at heart, I was stoked. And a little nugget that I found out afterwards, somebody sent me a snippet of an interview with Diego Luna, and he said that was the last thing he filmed. The very last thing he filmed of the entire show. So like to go out on just kind of like a little slight comedy bit and be in this like advanced cockpit was just like, it was a big treat for him too.
Yeah, it looked a lot of fun to shoot. I mean, obviously that whole sequence was very fun. There's obviously a bit of seriousness tucked into that whole little scene, but overall, I mean, that just like, it seemed like it was a blast to make.
Yeah. And I there was so many things in each episode, and it kept focusing on like where the characters were one year later. So each arc is going to be, I think, 1 or 2 year jumps.
I think that's right.
And you get to see the perspective of each. And I think there was a part near the end where they all kind of blended together. It was the whole structure was just done very well.
Yeah, I think the way that they jumped from all perspectives of all the characters we're following, from Rao to the forest planet that turns out to be Yavin 4 to Chandrila, and then even back to Coruscant. Like, everything was done so well. The pacing, the editing, it's a step above so many other things even right now, and especially for Star Wars. So yeah,
and those rebels really annoyed me at first. After watching it the first time, because I've seen all 3 episodes twice through, I saw a tweet from JJ, who might be joining us in a bit, but she said that it was like it was like a mirroring of the current state of the government, of just like the infighting and like arguing with each other. And Johnny, who couldn't be here with us tonight, had the same kind of like, he thought that they were very very annoying. But then when I saw JJ's opinion, I'm like, oh no, that makes perfect sense. I like this now.
Yeah, I think that they were intentionally annoying. I think that they were, the way they are presented and the way they kind of have this childlike bickering behavior that obviously erupts into like full scale conflict. like everything in this show, it's full of intentionality. So like I liked them because especially like when they're introduced and there's like that Monty Python bit in the when like they're in the trees and stuff like that. And it's like, don't tell them how money we have.
They do that a couple times. They're like yelling at each other through the bushes.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, Krennic. Krennic is one of my favorite Star Wars bad guys. I loved seeing him again.
He's one of those. I've said it since Rogue One. He is so good at being a villain, and he is. I feel like it's been almost a trope in recent like movie, TV shows, video games, books where it like you gotta like the villain.
Mhm.
Like the villain has to have like an almost suave, characteristic, or they have to be attractive, or whatever it may be. And Krennic very much feels like there's nothing to like about this man,
Mhm.
and that's what makes him a compelling villain, is that he's just so despicable.
Yeah, he's really interesting, and you get that sense all the way up until the Death Star laser literally takes him out. Is like, this is the most
Yes.
poetic ending ever.
Oh god, it's so satisfying.
Man, and Dedra and Cyril, the pose that he does on the bed was actually all his idea.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I looked on social media and he was talking to someone in an interview and he's like, yeah, they asked me, so you're going to go into this room. What do you want to do? And he's like, well, I know what I would do. And he pitched it and they went with it. So him lying on the
That's
bed was his idea.
amazing. I that was to me like the biggest shock of everything, is like seeing like casual Dedra, like, oh wow, Dedra's got her hair down, she's in her like non-military. Oh my god, she's living with Cyril. Oh my god. Just from like the gut punch from left field, and they work so good together in that setting. Like
Mhm.
it really does. And I don't know if we want to jump straight into it, but the dinner scene, oh my god, I was dying watching that, because it was just like I have many moons ago, I have been at that, like girlfriend's parents' dinner, where it's just like nothing I say is ever going to be good enough. Nothing I do. It's just that, oh, why did you take, your first step with your right foot? That's so strange. And it's like, oh my gosh. Like I have been there. I hated it. There was a little bit of PTSD for me, but man, what an amazing sequence of events with Dedra and Cyril.
Also, for those listening, there is no structure, there is no order. We're just going to jump around to whatever comes to my brain or our brains in this. But like just that whole scene of her, like, should I wear the black outfit or the white outfit that looks exactly the same? Which one
Yes.
am I going to go with?
She only knows her Imperial colors. Like that's
Yeah.
all she has. And I loved that. I loved their apartment, because the one thing I noticed on like the second watch was all of the apartments that Cyril has been in, and we obviously hasn't seen Dedra's up until now. Is it has that very like almost modular feel of like that 80s, 90s to 2000s Japanese architecture, where it's that like very methodical. Yes, it's so good. It's this like pocketed, compartmentalized, very efficient use of space. But what I love about their apartment, contrasted to where Cyril was in his mother's apartment, was he has space to move around and he has space to breathe in this apartment. It's this almost the same apartment in some ways, but there's room to breathe. And there's this one really good moment, because if you remember in season 1, when he's like at the dinner table with his mother, and there's like this rounded square that he's confined inside of with her, and it's just framing the shot. And then there's an almost identical shot in season 2 with all of them. And it's after he gets out of bed and he comes back through that same rounded rectangle framing and walks through it. And he has space and he's no longer confined in that framing. And it's just these little subtle things and like things to pick up on. But like, I think it really just speaks to like that masterclass of like filmmaking and visual storytelling that this show has, that not only other Star Wars stories don't have, but just like other stories in general don't have this, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, I don't even quite remember, but I swear in season 1 in that apartment that even the coloring was different. Like it was a darker
Yeah.
yellowish color, and then you go to Dedra's and it's bright white everywhere.
Yes. So like she kept all of like Cyril's mother kept all of the lights very dim in that apartment. There was like, and again, this is like the Imperial Coruscanti design aesthetic of like whites and grays and blacks. But like, whereas Cyril's mother was using dark grays and heavy wood accents to bring everything in, and it had this very dark and colder feeling. Whereas you get into Cyril and Dedra's apartment, it's still that very sterile Imperial feel to it, but it's whites and lighter grays, and like the sink flows with the room and stuff like that. And it's like, it's just really cool touches of just like if you go back to Cyril's bed, even in season 1, where it is a child's bed. It is probably the bed he slept on, um, and then you get into this, and he's just like obviously laying face down on it, but it's like it's very clear that like there's room in this bed and where he sleeps, and yeah, I loved their apartment. It was so good.
It was like that whole thing, and you see the power dynamic of like, okay, you're going to leave him alone. You're like the whole like I saw it coming too. I was like, she's gonna lay out an ultimatum, right? Like, and the mom had no choice.
Yeah, like, oh god, when Dedra just like doesn't raise her voice, she's very level headed. Like Dedra just doesn't have emotions, like for better or for worse, right? And the way she kind of just like, once Cyril is gone, she tells his mother exactly how it's going to be. And that like, yeah, he's going to come visit you. Like that's going to be part of this. But here's the deal. Like you're no more insults, no more this, no more that. And it is so good because I love his mother. She's awful, but I just love her. Cause like I've met people like that. I know people like that. I've had dinner with people like that. And oh my God, it's such an amazing thing to see.
One thing that Johnny also wanted to bring up, the interaction. So going way ahead, when the group is caught by the Empire and Brasso is surrounded by Imperials, and he goes after the guy like the guy sold him out. I took that as he was saving the guy's life by basically framing it like,
Yeah,
yeah, like
I got the same vibe.
like he didn't actually rat them out, but he said that just so he could save his life. And then Brasso
Yeah,
ends up just kind
I
of dying off screen.
Yeah, I was surprised by this because Brasso dying so suddenly, like, and you kind of have that stormtrooper like raising his rifle as they're shooting at Brasso, and it's like I was like, that better not be a sign of where this is going, and obviously it is. But I do think they handled his death well. I think they handled it with, Cassian like not believing it or accepting it at first. Like there's no way that like you can't just shoot Brasso like that. That Brasso doesn't just die like that. And it's something that I don't think we've really seen from Cassian before. Like he obviously was, you know, when he calls back to Ferrix and he hears about his mother, obviously you have like a sense of grief in his voice and stuff like that, but we don't really see him visually reacting to death in that way, the way it was with father. Like obviously it's affected him like with his father Clem, or his adoptive father Clem and stuff like that in season 1, but like you don't really see that, and we may not see that again, who knows, with this season until K2 again is like the only other time.
Yeah.
And it's like it obviously takes a lot for a death to affect Cassian, and the way he visually was affected by Brasso's death, like was like, now who's gonna give the hugs?
No, and you reminded me, droids and B2, like the way they actually they cared about B2's feelings, like who's gonna tell him, like, and they kept it from him because they knew it would stress him out.
Yeah. That poor droid.
Yeah.
Poor droid. I love B2. I hope he gets his happy day in the sunlight. I hope Bix will probably get to it later. I hope Bix has her day in the sunlight. Like there's so many characters that are just suffering throughout this show. And I can't wait to just hopefully have some reprieve for some of these characters. Like B2 and Bix are like the two main ones, but even characters like Mon, like I want a little bit more just happiness for some of them.
Harriet said it in the chat. I noticed this the second time. He totally left B2 behind. I mean,
yeah,
he was in good care essentially.
He's in good care with Talia for sure.
Yeah, but he left B2 back there. So hopefully we get to see him again. And I mean, just like what you were saying with all these characters, Mon Mothma, there's an hour-long clip of Mon Mothma's crash out. They just looped it.
That's beautiful.
Dancing at the end.
That's beautiful. I think the editing between the fight on Mina Rao and the party on Chandrila was so well done, of just like this really, really intense fight scene that's going on with Cassian coming in and the TIE Avenger, and then shooting all the rockets at the Imperials, and then just like all of the stuff going on, and then boom, dance music hits you, and then you're back there, and you see Mon starting to slowly dance around, and then Luthen is pacing, and you know exactly what he's doing with Tay, and then an explosion cuts, and you're back on Mina Rao, and it's just this back and forth that just is so impactful, and it's just this like cacophony of noise, but different feelings of noise, and you get hit each time they cut, and it's just so well done.
Yeah, I don't even think I noticed the first time, but I was checking it the second time, going, "Is this music happening the entire time with each cutaway?" And it fits so well.
Yeah, it's just like it's that driving beat, and then you can use that to cut away to just very intense action, and they just did it so well.
Yeah, and I'm blanking on the names, but the end, seeing where Tay's going, they don't show, but they suggest that Tay is about to die.
Yeah, because Cinta drives him away, and
Cinta's there,
and Cinta and Vel they catch eyes, and oh my gosh, it's just because like you hear like they mention Cinta like episode 2 or 3 at the beginning of 3, I think, but like it's Belle clearly is still like hoping that she'll come around and all of that, and then she sees her and just and it's one of those things that you're with all the stuff that happened on Aldhani, we saw that Vel and Cinta were very committed, and that Vel has this huge commitment. She's leading this rebellion, and then as it kind of goes about it, it's almost like she doesn't want to be as committed as everyone else. She kind of does like her life of leisure, her Chandrilan life of luxury, and it's like I wonder if we're going to get that story arc of like she wants the Empire to go away, but she doesn't want to give away who she was.
Yeah.
And I think that will become an issue with Cinta.
It's like Luthen has done it. Mon Mothma is on the cusp of doing it,
Mhm.
and she's not there, and
She's
she
not
doesn't
ready.
want to get there.
Yeah. Because like her interactions with Clea, like kind of like really hint at that, where it's just like Clea feels like she doesn't care about this, but she knows how to put on the face that she does, but she's ready to live back in the dirt, at a moment's notice. And I think that she sees that in Vel, and time will tell in these next 3 arcs that we're getting. But yeah, I love that moment where like Vel and Cinta lock eyes, and Cinta just looks at her and steps inside of the car and drives away with Tay.
I'm wondering how they're going to handle, like, so the next 3 episodes are going to be from a time jump, how they're going to catch the audience up from like, okay, here's where we left off. Here's 1 or 2 years later. What's everybody doing? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of faith in the production team and the
Oh,
story group that has worked on this. So I'm like just curious as what they're gonna do. I feel like as much as I did like the Acolyte, there were like the ending of episode 7 going into episode 8. I was just nervous because I was like, it feels like this team, like their strong suit wasn't editing and pacing. It was more like world building and choreography and costuming. Um, and so when it came to like wrapping everything up, I was like, how are they going to do this? And they did an okay job, in my opinion. But like with Andor, I'm just like, take the reins. Let me know how it. I'm just here for the ride. This is great. Whatever you guys want to do.
yeah. The time jump might involve more with the Gormans. Like Dedra's going to be fully involved in the project. Mon Mothma, I forget the arc, but Mon Mothma was in Rebels, and the Gormans were a factor. So I'm wondering
Yes.
if that's going to be like the start of that. Cassian, like that's just like the title character. I don't know where he's going to be.
And like that's the interesting thing about having these time jumps is like any character can be anywhere, and it might be jarring at first, but it kind of settles in. Because like this first arc where like Cassian spent most of his time on this forest planet, that when we pan away, it's Yavin 4.
Yep.
And it's like he's not interacting with anyone. Everyone's wondering where he is, like from the people on Mina Rao to Clea and Luthen. They're like, where is this guy? So
Just waiting for the moment where they're like, we need a base of operations, and Andor goes, I know a place.
I know a place. There's these super annoying neighbors, but there's these cool temples you can hang out in.
It's gonna call ourselves the Knights Who Say Knee and see what happens.
Oh my god! Just the Monty Python aspect of that group was so funny. It reminded me a lot of like the meaning of life with the tiger. where it's like, what are you doing here? Well, what are you doing here?
The rock paper scissors version of the game they were playing
God,
was a snake.
with Cassian just like sneaking by. It's like it was like it was so laughable in so many ways, but also like so disparaging of like, I want to know more about this group. Like, they've only been here for 2 days. They're dying after 2 days, and they're ready to fight after 2 days. Who are they? Who are they enlisted? Are they involved with Saul? Are they involved with Luthen and they don't know it? Like, I want to know more about these people.
That's what I think is like all of these rebels are splinter groups. So like whatever, I think their group was Maya's, and Maya died.
Yeah.
Then you have Saw's rebels, Luthen's rebels, and then eventually come to Rogue One. Mon Mothma is going to have the main group, and they broke off from Saw because Saw is way too much. I do definitely want to see more of Saw. Also, come to think of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, Harith says the Cassian's side of the arc is going to end with the introduction of K2. I can't wait for K2 to come on.
Yeah. Too. I want to know how much he's going to be in this. Like, is it just at the end? Is he going to come in like next arc, and then he'll be a persistent character? Because like we only really got Director Krennic in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming we're going to see more of him. And I loved that scene with director Krennic, because I do feel like comparatively to Rogue One, and obviously this is before then, is he felt like an imposing Imperial director. And there's lots of parallels to this this little retreat they have. Obviously the Eagle's Nest from 1930s Germany, where, you know, some very secret dealings went on with the Germans. Like huge inspiration. It is essentially the same window that like is from like the very famous photographs. But one thing that I thought was really interesting about that building where they were comparatively is like, this is a building that was like jutted into a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you cut back to Chandrila, the Mothma estate flows with the mountain, and they're very traditional people, and they have like all of these elaborate ceremonies and rituals and stuff like that. But like if you look at the stone walls and how they move and flow with that, comparatively to what the Empire has done, like I love these contrasts with like cultures and the Empire. So like that's something that I loved, and that whole sequence with like the Gorman spiders and that like 1950s advertisement for the silk weavers. It was so good, and just the casual bargaining of, we're going to destroy a planet. Like
They had propaganda salesmen.
Yeah.
Like the propaganda salesman, and even Krennic's like, okay, that's good enough. That's good enough.
Yeah. Like absolutely wild. And it's just that everyone at the table, you know, you have some characters that were like, and it wasn't even about the planet. It was just like, this is a huge undertaking. Like, you want to displace and relocate $100,000. It wasn't even a matter about, or 100,000 people. It's not even about the people. It's about the logistics is what they're concerned about, not the people, which is just this sadistic and sinister like cloud that lives inside of this like retreat. That was just like, it was disgusting all around.
That whole time when Krennic said relocation is ideal, is like, you don't care. You're just saying.
Yeah.
But also when he's saying stuff like, I've spoken to the Emperor directly, and knowing how he was in Rogue One, it's like, you're lying, because you're not on that good of terms with the Emperor or Darth Vader. There's no way, but you want to save face.
Yeah, or, you know, this could be one of those things. Maybe he was on good terms with the Empire or with the Emperor, and Gorman went so south so quickly that he was no longer on good terms with the Emperor. And that's what, you know, led to all the doubt of the Death Star and stuff like that. But, you know, who knows? It's just
there's lots of layers. Lots of good stuff. Man, what else? What we got?
I think one of the other things that I really did like was how Mina Rao was framed. Because the thing that, like, when I was rewatching it for the second time, before the Empire gets there, like all of the shots are like really wide, and you see the fields and they go on for miles, and you see all of this stuff. And it's just this like, and especially when you like compare it to Ferrix, you know, it's like there was lots of framing with the buildings and stuff like that. And, you know, it's like, it seemed like a happy life for them, for like Bix and Brasso and Will. But, you know, they were all confined in their own little spaces, but it did feel like in Mina Rao, they had like room to breathe, you know, very similar to like Cyril.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Empire comes, like there's a storm cloud that starts developing in the background. And then also all of the shots get tighter and tighter as it goes in, to the point where like, the grain market store that they have, and when the Empire comes in there, like it felt. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Pianist with Adrian Brody.
Mm-mm.
It's a very depressing World War II like biopic. Um, and there's a moment when like Adrian Brody's character is working in like a very similar shop, and like German soldiers come in, and it's a very tense scene, and it's just like the whole thing, it's like, oh, do you take credits? Yeah. Oh, where are you next going? Oh yeah. And there's like this like casual conversation, and you can tell that Brasso and Talia are like just not making any eye contact and stuff like that. And it was like, it felt very much inspired by that, but like, there's so many aspects of so many different scenes that just like hit so well in the show.
You really got the sense you felt what the characters felt a lot of times, like the uneasiness or just the general uncomfortable vibes of whatever was going on, where they were nervous or tense. All of that was done
100%.
very well.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, with the wide shot, like everything was all open, and it was like it felt different because in season one they were all confined, and then you got this big cornfield or wheat or whatever that was, and it was just very wide open space. It was all done. I think there was no. It was all done like naturally or with practical stuff.
Oh, I think that was like leading up to season 2. Like they were like, yeah, we want to stick, because Andor season 1 was full of practical effects and practical sets, and they're like, yeah, we want to keep it going. I don't believe they used the volume at all in season 2, because they didn't in season 1. And it really shows, like when they do stuff like this, when you have these real life sets, these real life props and stuff like that, that like it's not. And what's so funny is like going to see Revenge of the Sith last night, and it's just like everything's fake. Everything in that movie is fake. Like the movie's great and the movie's fun, but like coming off of Andor, like rewatching Andor season 1 to get ready for Andor season 2, and then watching Andor season 2, and it's just like it's a whole different level. Like when everything is real, and it's like, not to dog on Revenge of the Sith, but the first thing I want to do is like I need to rewatch the original trilogy. Like I want that real feeling back. Like I want like these lived in sets, these props that feel like they're actually like they've been handled multiple times. And that's what Andor has. And I think that's what Andor captures about the original trilogy so well, is like when Bix is like taking apart that, grease filled manifold, whatever you want to call it. And it leaks oil all over her hands, and it clearly goes back in a specific way, and it's like, this is just designed to, like, as it should have been, as like a usable thing, and it's not just some CGI prop that like they snap together with some effect.
So similarly,
yes.
Similarly, when I watched Revenge of the Sith earlier, when they rescue the Chancellor and they're all going up to Mace Windu and like the collection of people, I see a pole in the background. I'm like, that does not look real at all. And I'm wondering like what it looks like. And it's probably not even there. And then I immediately wanted to watch, after the movie, I wanted to watch clips of the Kenobi show when he fought Vader and then when he talked to Leia, because I'm like, I need the happy feelings back. But on top of that, just the little things in Andor, like when he's trying to communicate with that little box and he has to put the pin in the right place and she has to put the pins in the right place like an operator. It's like, man, I would love to just sit down with that thing like a kid and just play with that. That's all I wanted to do.
It's one of those things, and I think it's just really smart prop design, because I remember watching an interview with one of the prop designers for Star Trek The Next Generation, and like him talking to like the cast and talking to like Will Wheaton about it, and it's like, well, what do I do? And it's like, whatever you do, is right.
Mhm.
Because like you're the operator of this thing and you can set it the way you want. This is set up for you. Keep that in mind. Like you're a Starfleet command expert. You do what you want, play with it with confidence. And it shows in the Next Generation. And then it also shows in stuff like Andor when it's just like they're doing this and it's like I'm sure the direction for Clea was like, put it in a hole, but put it in with meaning. It's like, yeah, there's 30 holes, but Clea knows which one is the right one. And I think the same thing with like the TIE Avenger is it's just like, it's probably just a playground. Like just press buttons and like lights will come on at random. We're not telling you what happens. We want you to be surprised. And I think that's like the power of realistic sets and props is when you can rehearse with them and get the feeling of it. It changes everything. And that's what I love about this show so much is that everything feels so real.
Practically in the TIE Avenger, TIE Advance, have we ever seen anything practical that advanced in Star Wars? Or like that advanced looking?
The Nubian starfighters are going to be your closest that have that advanced technology in there. The thing, and this is my stupid brain, like watching that scene several times, was when Cassian's turning it around when the stormtroopers come in. Like the first time I saw it, it locks on to the rocket launcher guy, and then he disintegrates him, which is great. And I was like, oh, it must be because the rocket is homing on to the TIE fighter, and the TIE fighter sees that or the TIE Avenger sees it as a threat. But then like rewatching it, it locks on to the stormtroopers that are shooting at it as well. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because there's projectiles. And then you go back to Mina Rao, and it's locking on to all of the transports, the troopers. And I'm like, it is 100%, 99.999% sure that it's just like for the audience locking on to bad guy, highlight it red. There you go.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's no friend or foe designation here. And the fact that this ship has no problem locking onto Imperial signatures, it's like, I'm like, oh, that's funny. But I'm also like, is there intentionality behind that? Like, it's just like, this is at the point where the Empire is like, we will have to fire upon our own like infantry and upon our own TIE fighters, with these things. Like we're expecting people to leave the Empire. We're expecting people like, we haven't even talked about Nia, at the very beginning. And it's just like, is the Imperial ramping up to prepare for this? Because like, you're right. No, we haven't seen anything this advanced with the heads up display and all of the projection lights coming from each corner of the window. So no, and we haven't seen it. And there's like, it's a hyperdrive with a ion pulse blast belly gun. And like, man, that thing was so cool.
Nia was also very adorable, and I hope we see her again.
Oh, I really want to see her again because her, like, assuming we're trying to just draw from the real world here, like you don't become like an experimental craft technician like your first day on the job at the Empire. And the fact that like she has to have been there for some time for her to be alone with something like a TIE Avenger, like an advanced piece of military hardware, and knows that piece of hardware. Like she's been with the Empire for a while. Mm-hmm. She's got to have some type of rank on her. And the fact that she's ready to leave like that far in, I think it tells a really interesting story about how bad it's getting and how more and more people are starting to realize that it's getting bad. And that like, maybe, who knows? I hope we find out. I hope we see more of her because, maybe it was the TIE Avenger project where it's just like, this is just a weapon of war. This is no longer about peace. You have 12 missile pods, 4 anti-air, anti-space rockets. You have dual repeating laser cannons as well as like a disintegrating death ray. Like, what piece are you hoping to attain with this thing?
She definitely would have had to have been there for a while, maybe even enough time to be like, okay, now you're high enough rank. We're going to show like this is a test run that you're going to supervise or you're going to watch.
Mhm.
And it was just something really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope we get more of her, because she was so good, and I love the other little technician that walks by and she has that little conversation with him. Like, oh, she thinks you're cute, and I love that Cass. She had her little alibi is like, oh yeah, you're the new test pilot, you're excited, and we started flirting. Cassian's like, oh, I like that, and it's like it's very cute the way that they play off of each other.
Cassian also being reassuring, being like, you're risking everything. You can ask me whatever you want.
Yeah, like
Like,
leveling with her, and that's something that I think is so important, especially for leaders of any movement. And it's something that you can kind of contrast with people who are like ready to go and gung ho and fresh versus the leaders. Is it's like you have to level with people. Like if he came in there and was like, "Don't look at me," like, do you not know who I am? Do you not know my rank within the rebellion? Like, I am so important. I am Clem. uh, like he levels with her. He gets to her playing field and is like, you're so brave. And the line, like, you're coming home to yourself. Like it, if he wasn't as gentle with her and as proud of her as he is for what she was doing, I don't think it would have had the effect. And she may have gone back into the Empire and been like, this was maybe not, maybe this wasn't the right idea. So like, I do love that, within the year from basically Narkina 5 up until now, where Cassian is as a character, I really enjoy that.
yeah, and it's still like, he can be like that, but he can still also like, hey, you're in my way. I'm going to shoot you
Yeah.
and then move on.
Yeah, he's not. He still has a job to do. He's still going to get it done. Like, and we see that on Yavin 4 with that rebel group of just like, I am playing all of you guys, and every single one of you is too dumb to realize it. Like my main goal is to get water and to get the hell out of here. And it's like, you guys are just going to keep fighting. I'm just going to wait for the best opportunity to just skedaddle.
Yeah, and then when he's going with the code phrases, but then gives up on it and just starts asking direct questions, and then goes, "No, screw this! I have to go find them." And is
Yeah, so good.
Still a rebel within the rebels.
Yes. Yeah, he's yeah. I love that little bit, and then I mean, I think the only other part that like we really haven't touched on, I think, is maybe the wedding.
Yeah,
because
3 days.
Oh, hell of a wedding. That it's a lot, but like we learn so much, we see so much. There's so much to take in. Like at every shot, there's so much to take in with everything going on. I feel like the wedding was a highlight of this arc. Like obviously didn't contain Cassian, didn't contain Dedra and Cyril, but like, did you read Mask of Fear by any chance?
Mask of which one was that?
The new one from Alexander Freed with it's about Mon, Bale, and Saw.
No, I didn't read that.
Super good. I definitely recommend reading it. It puts a lot of things with Mon Mothma into perspective. But that being said, like does not really impact the wedding at all. There's so many things again, and it's that visual storytelling that I love of like all of her entryways and passages are circles rounded with no sharp edges. And like all of the colors in the wedding on Chandrila are like oranges and reds and pinks and like browns with like some grayish browns, and it's all warm tones. And then you have like the patch of green grass in the middle, which is like so good. And it's these stark contrasts to something like what we see on Coruscant, that I really, really loved. And the same thing with that I liked about Mina Rao as well, that like mimics Ferrix, is again, it's those warm tones that were used throughout. And then when you get into the Empire, it's all cool tones. So I love that. But the wedding itself, the one thing I noticed is, obviously every single costume was unbelievable, from every one of Mon's gowns to like your random party goer in the corner. Like everyone looked incredible.
The wedding dress and then the dress that Mon wore at the end ceremony is like, wow, that looks amazing, but you're going through it right now.
The wedding dress oh my God, that wedding dress was gorgeous. But the thing about that wedding dress is when it's being like hovered up and like Leia comes in and she wants to show her friends, the thing that I noticed immediately was the veil overhead draped like a cage over the dress. And I was just like, oh God. Oh, Tony, stop. It was just so many things about the wedding and how well it was done. There was one, like when Mon realizes Luthen is there, and you have this moment where it's on her face the entire time, and she's getting stopped every single time. And there's this one couple right before she turns around the corner, and they're having these like very African inspired like gowns on, and it's just like, we're never going to see these characters again. We're like, these are people who say hi to Mon. That was like their thing, but the costuming on them was so incredible. And it's just like every little bit. And I'm like, you tell me that this like $200 million show and 190 million of it went to the costumes, I would fucking believe you.
No, Perrin, I actually hate Perrin with a passion, but I liked him for a good 2 minutes when he was doing that speech.
Oh my God.
It's like, why are you making me like this guy right now? Because that was a great speech.
I loved his speech. The thing about Perrin, if you read Mask of Fear, you won't like Perrin, but you'll understand him.
So that book and Rebel Rising, I have to finish both of them.
Yes. Rebel Rising really hit me hard in a way I wasn't expecting it to, just because like I was like, I needed something to listen to on like a bike ride I was doing. I think I was like riding from New York to Philadelphia at the time. And I was like, oh yeah, someone somewhere on TikTok said I would like Rebel Rising. Whatever. All right, here we go. Unbelievable novel. But the speech that he gives and the look that Mon Mothma gives him, and like it's that endearing look of like, there's two moments. There's the moment in the beginning of episode 2 when they're like setting up for breakfast and everything, and like they have this back and forth where it's just like they don't hate each other. Like it's very clear they don't hate each other. And like Perrin says like, oh, how's your boyfriend doing? And Mon's like, oh, which boy, what boyfriend? What are you talking about? And Perrin's like, oh, Tay. Is he not your lover? Like he's genuinely asking, like, and he's not offended by this. And, obviously the whole, like, he got drunk and got carried off. But the thing about Perrin that I'm not going to say I like Perrin, but I have a sense of respect for him because he's in the same position as Mon is. He doesn't want to be there. He's only there for Leia. I think what season 1 did really well, at least laid the groundwork for, was he loves Leia. There's not a question in my mind that he does not love, that he would not die for his daughter. And I do respect him for that. I think he could handle the situation he's in. He's in the same arranged marriage bullcrap from Chandrila's tradition that his daughter is going into. But the speech where, it was, I forget. I don't have it memorized, but like where it basically, it's like it's going to be hard. You're going to have your dark times, but like seek joy
Mhm.
and find the joy, and that will take you through everything. Um, and it's oh god, it's so. Did you see the Celebration live stage like interview with Tony Gilroy where he talks about he was talking about the Perrin speech before it had aired?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, he talked about it, and I was like, so I wasn't expecting it to be in episode 2, or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, episode 3. Was it episode 2? I can't remember now. But yeah, like I knew that Perrin had a monologue, and it was so like the actor did it so well, and like there was clearly love for his daughter, and there was care for his wife, and Mon felt that care. And I highly encourage you to read Mask of Fear because there is a very important chapter about Mon and Perrin in there.
It's like the same thing when Perrin notices Mon just losing it, and he actually looks genuinely concerned.
Yeah.
It's, I think, the first time or one of the few times that we've seen him actually like, oh no, he's worried. He's not suspicious. He actually looks really worried.
He doesn't hate Mon. He doesn't hate his wife. He hates the marriage he is in.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you that there is some backstory of when Perrin was 14 years old, he probably had some girl he was in love with, and it wasn't Mon.
Yeah.
And he was forced to marry Mon. And in Mask of Fear, they do talk about it of like Mon and Perrin had agreements through like different agreements throughout the way of it's just like, we're not going to be committed to each other. Then they kind of fell in love, but they, said they weren't going to have kids, and they talked about having kids, and then it didn't work out. And then they had a kid. And like all of these things happened in the course of their very young lives, getting in this arranged marriage. And like, there are moments in Mask of Fear where Perrin is a genuinely like caring partner. Husband is like such a stretch because it's like they're only husband and wife by title.
Yeah.
But like Perrin cares about Mon, and I do believe that Mon cares about Perrin, but not in the way that we are so expectant of a husband and wife to care about each other. And I love this dynamic. And one of the great things about Mask of Fear is the parallel between Mon and Perrin, and then Bale and Brea Organa. It's like a mirror image. But no, like you're right. The speech was incredible, and like the wedding, just overall beautiful. They are roommates. They are 100% roommates that genuinely care for each other's well-being.
I was going to say partners, but that also works.
Yeah.
Oh man. And are they going to do 3 episodes each week, or is it now going to be 1 episode a week? Okay, so it is 3 episode arcs each time. All
12 episodes with 4 arcs, and this is the first arc.
The first arc, and then next week is going to be 3 again.
Yep.
All at once. Wow. That's going to be a lot.
Yeah. It's a long movie each week, which is like not insane. I genuinely like the way they're doing it. I think this is such a good way to kind of accommodate both television broadcast styles of week to week airing and kind of like leaving you in suspense, but it also serves that binge kind of feeling of like, yeah, you want to watch everything all at once. Well, you can watch everything that happens in this arc all at once. I think it works really, really well. If this show does super well ratings wise, and you get more people watching it, that aren't even Star Wars fans, I could see other shows adopting this. I could see something like Rings of Power adopting this, where it's these like, most TV shows kind of air like this in a way where it's like you have these arcs, you have these story beats that persist throughout the season, and then they can be broken up into chunks. And I think this is such a good way of doing it. And obviously the show was intentionally shot this way.
Mhm.
But I could see like more shows being like, yeah, we're going to drop 2-3 episodes a week, and you can enjoy them. I think it's also, if you don't have time to watch every single thing on a Tuesday, you could like watch one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, and you'll be caught up with time to talk about it with everyone else before the next season or next arc airs.
We are almost at the hour mark. Do you have any final thoughts about the episode?
We haven't touched on the scene.
Yeah.
We haven't touched on the scene. I talked about it on the pod once on Thursday night. The only thing I will say is it was really difficult to watch. I think it was intentionally difficult to watch. I have been saying for so long that I don't think Star Wars will ever get out of its young adult, child focused storytelling structure. But this took Star Wars so far out of that structure. And I'm glad they took those steps. I think it was good for them to do this. And I think Bix deserves to kill so many Imperial officers over the next 9 episodes. She deserves all the revenge for not the last thing I'll say about this is the artistry of the scene from episode 1, where you have I can't remember the freaking doctor's name, the doctor that tortured her on Ferrix,
Mhm.
coming in as a dream to her and looking in the mirror, and then you have the Imperial lieutenant looking in that same mirror, and it's like the realization that her monster is coming to life. I don't mean this in a way that I want to be misconstrued, but like it was so beautifully done for the scene that it was trying to portray. And watching the interview with Adria about it was very enlightening, and I encourage people to watch the interview with Adria about the scene and how like that scene was very impactful for her, and she gave it her all, and she was so proud of her performance. So yeah, she deserves to kill at least 30,000 Imperial officers.
Yeah, that actor, the Imperial officer, every scene he was in, you felt the uncomfortable.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
You felt it every single time because of just how it was portrayed, and just I could tell that I have TikTok brain, because hearing the words spoken out loud, it's like, wow, they went there. They actually
in Star Wars,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there are shows that do not shy away from this, and there's shows that show these things more graphically than Star Wars does. But like they friggin' went there, dude.
There are shows that show it for the sake of showing it.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Yeah.
And this was done in a way that is at this point, I genuinely will be upset and say it's bad taste if Bix does not make it through this show. Like she has to live. She has to
cannot
live.
be fridged. She cannot be fridged. No.
What she went through in season 1, what she has now gone through in season 2, she has to make it out alive. But I think that's all. I have so many. Like I could go on for another half an hour about the TIE Avenger. I won't, but I think it's a good spot to stop here.
Yeah, I hope that, like, I always hope we see more Legends things come to life in canon, in live action,
they talked
especially.
about the Rakata again.
Yes, they keep mentioning the Rakata. I love it. I love it so much. But with that being said, that is going to wrap it up. Chase, let everyone know where they can find you.
Of course, thank you for having me here. I am Chase. I'm on Forward Into the Black. You can find me on TikTok primarily, is where I do my content. I also do a podcast on YouTube with the Pod Ones every Thursday. And I also do a morning AM podcast on the Dork Place at Twitch with my friend AJ, where we usually talk about video games and stuff like that. And occasionally, if you're lucky, you'll find me streaming on Twitch and TikTok playing Star Citizen. or Microsoft Flight Simulator. So check me out there, and I'm happy to talk about Star Citizen, Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Babylon 5, Expanse, all the spaceship shows. That's where I'm talking about stuff.
And I am David Xanatos 1138. You can find me on all socials at Xanatos 1138. I did a test stream earlier on Twitch. Going to try and do that more. It kind of stunk because I noticed after the fact I was playing Oblivion, but it still said I was playing the Expanse Telltale game from a couple of years ago. So we're still working on that. I actually finally got OBS to work. Other than that, I mean, you can find podcasts like this and the Doctor Who podcast, which is going to happen tomorrow, talking about the latest episode, The Pit. I think it's The Pit. Sorry, The Well. I was getting that confused. But that is going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern with a bunch of other people. And yep, that's about it. You can find it on itsfanbox.com. That's it. That's it for me. All right.